Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event. Fight fans worldwide, you've tuned into the #1 undisputed boxing podcast today. This is the Boxing Breakdown. Now, your heavy-handed, hard-hitting host, Mark Roxy.
What's up? What's up? What's up? This is your host, Mark Roxy, and you are listening to the Boxing Breakdown. What's going on, people? I am delighted that you are with me today, and welcome to another edition of the Boxing Breakdown. Thank you for tuning in. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, thanks for being with us today. If you are tuning in on YouTube, what is up? Don't forget, my friends, right below, hit that like button, smash it, smash the subscribe button, and make sure you hit the notification so every time we go live, you know that we're going live. And I would like to, at this time, bring in my partner in crime, the exceptional broadcaster, the outstanding boxing judge, Mr. Harold Hunt. What's up? What's up? What's up, man?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good, brother. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. Oh, a lot of stuff went on. We got a lot to discuss in a short time.
Yes, we do. Yes, we
We
do.
got a heavy hitter here too, though, don't we?
We do have a heavy hitter with us. Yes, we do. And we're going to announce him in just 1 second. But you're right, man. Like you said, boxing this weekend, boxing fans were treated to an absolutely outstanding array of boxing activity on all the networks. Everybody was chomping at the bit this weekend, and we are going to talk about the fights. We're going to talk about a lot of the stuff. I mean, basically the agenda for today's episode is we're going to talk a little bit about Devin Haney. He is, my friends, the undisputed champion at 135 pounds. We're going to get into Deontay Wilder and his return to the ring in the most absolute vicious fashion in a first round TKO. It was pretty amazing. Actually, it wasn't TKO, it was a KO. And then we'll get into the Clarissa Shields unanimous decision over Savannah Marshall. We expected it. We knew T-Rex was going to pull it off, but there's lots to talk about that fight. Certainly in terms of the pay-per-views, women's boxing, we're gonna get into that, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about Alycia Baumgardner, the new champion at featherweight. That's right? Featherweight or flyweight? Yeah. And split decision win over Mikaela Meyer. I can't believe it. She beat Mikaela Meyer. I actually can believe it because I know Mikaela Meyer was beatable, and certainly Alycia Baumgardner pulled that off. So without further ado, let's welcome in our next guest to the Boxing Breakdown, professional boxing trainer, partner in crime in the gym. Y'all waiting? Y'all look at you waiting. Mr. Dwayne Fenn, what's up? What's up? What's up, Dwayne? What's going on, brother?
What's going on, guys? I finally made it. Good to see you guys again, as always, man. It's always a pleasure seeing you guys. How's everything?
Dwayne, everything's going great.
Good.
It's even better that you're on the broadcast because we are going to get into some serious boxing. Folks, Dwayne knows a lot about boxing. He knows a lot about training fighters. And so we're just happy to have you with us, Dwayne. And so let's get into this, man. Let's talk about Devin Haney, undisputed at 135. Harold, what you got?
Well, as you know, he had the rematch clause, so he had to go back over there. But this time he had a little better understanding of the crowd, the possible negative situations he could run into, but he kind of got himself um, adorned by the public. The public loved him. He did a lot of charity stuff with the kids, and the media was kind to him this time. So he was in a lot better place just as far as his mental situation. He was over there, a couple weeks early, I believe. He got
Right.
used to the food. I mean, he was really in a real comfortable situation this time, and he kind of proved it in the way that he went about the fight in the ring. As far as him adding to the skill set to win the fight, he just used the right hand, quite a bit. And any kind of right hand lead is very flashy and splashing, and the judges and the crowd and the spectators, they're going to see that right hand land. I mean, that's a disrespectful punch. If you hit somebody with a straight right hand, that's a street punch. So if you can land that on a consistent basis, you have a great chance of looking really good and winning the fight.
No, I agree. Dwayne, tell me, you got a chance to see the fight, right?
Yeah, and I actually watched the fight while I was at the stadium watching Deontay Wilder. We actually had pulled it up on our phones and we was watching the fight in between, before the main fight came on. So, um, yeah, one of the things about Devin that I like before I'm always impressed when I see young men being raised by their fathers, and I like the way that his father has taught him how to present himself. I said the same thing about Sean Porter and his dad, and now I'm saying it about Devin Haney. He has done a fantastic job keeping this young man focused and on, and what you and the results of that is what you see. He's really growing into not just a fantastic boxer. He's really growing into a fine young man. Far as his weight, what I wanted to see was how was he what he was going to look like holding that weight at 135. And that's a testament to his team, how they're allowing him to still make this weight at 135 and still be strong and keep his conditioning the way that his conditioning is at 135. He's a big boy, and eventually at some point he's going to move up to 140. But right now he seems to be wearing that 135 weight very well, and I think that's a credit to not only him and his discipline, but also to the team. As far as the fight, let's be clear: Kambosa is a hell of a fighter, and there's and just because Devin Haney and um beat him, that is not a green light for a lot of these other fighters. Devin Haney is a well schooled fighter, and his boxing IQ is really high for his age. So yeah, he pretty much did what he wanted to do in that fight. He controlled it. Um, um, Cambosa tried to do some different tricks, but at the end of the day, it was very similar to the first fight. He controlled it with his jab, managed the distance, and when he crossed the line, he defended his territory appropriately on those angles. And the more Cambosa came, the more he caught that beat down. So
Right.
it was an excellent strategy.
So let me ask you something. Let's talk a little bit, you guys, about the right hand and the success that Devin Haney had with that right hand and why he was successful. Let's unpack that. So,
Well, just from a judge standpoint and just a spectator, not a trainer of you guys' ilk, I see just the head flying when he gets hit. It's just so dramatic to me.
yeah,
And he's going out of his way to land that straight right hand. And I just enjoyed, him adding it. As I said earlier, I was looking, for him to go to the body with it a little more, but he
right,
didn't. But there was no need for it. So it was a nice addition to his whole work body of work that night.
right. Well, first of all, one of the things that I noticed that I picked up in the fight, let's breaking this down here, is Kamboso and his team, they gave Devin Haney the opportunity to land that shot for two reasons. One, because when Kambosos was trying to cross the line, was trying to get close, Devin Haney was walking him to the right. And Kambosos was cooperating, walking to his right. So the right hand was right there to be landed, not only straight, but loopy, choppy, as a hook, as a rear hook. There were just so many opportunities for that right hand to land. And Kambosos was leaning the majority as he was walking. He was heavy on that back foot, leaning into the right side. So I wonder if you can comment on that, Dwayne.
So, yeah, if so, the problem that Cambosa has is he's having problems finding Devin, and the reason why he's having problems finding Devin is because Devin is mastering the distance, and he's touching him in places that is allowing him to measure Cambosa, right? So what happens in those scenarios is Devin Haney is fighting Cambosa, and Cambosa is fighting distance, right? So, so the reason why he's able to land that right hand is because he can see everything that Cambosa's doing
Right.
because of how he's measuring the distance and because of how he's picking up the rhythm, right? So usually it's very difficult to hit somebody with a straight right hand unless they're crossing the
Cooperating.
mark when they're not supposed to cross the mark, and also you have positioned them into a position where you can throw that right hand safely without getting countered. So he positioned him. He walked him into that position to shoot that right hand where it couldn't be defended, and he also couldn't get countered, right? So that's just a skill set, and that's not by luck. That's something that they worked on at the gym to make those opportunities happen.
Yeah.
He's so all those things, and he's setting those right hands up in many different ways.
No, that's beautiful breakdown. That's a beautiful breakdown, Dwayne. And you're absolutely right. I mean, you got to give a lot of credit to his trainer. I mean, his trainer, to be honest, his trainer had a lot to do with it, right? His father trained him, as you said at the top of the broadcast, very, very well. One of the things that his father understood was exactly what this game plan needed to be on the second fight on how to beat Kambosos. He knew exactly what the remedy was based on the footage, based on having those first 12 rounds with Kambosos. He understood exactly what he needed to do. And that's why, if you look at the fight, it looked like he was just coasting his way to victory. It looked like he understood exactly where he needed to be in the fight, at exactly what distance he needed to be, and exactly where he needed to position Kambosos in order to just, dominate him. And like you said, make no bones about it. Kambosos was there to be hit. He was hit with some of Devin's best shots, and he was still there. And for that, you gotta give, credit where credit's due. I mean, what do you think about that, Harold?
Well, I noticed that Kambosos had a new little game plan. It lasted about 4 rounds where he was, giving different looks back and forth, little footwork or whatever, And when you train for that kind of stuff, you eventually go back to your original baseline of fighting. So about the 5th round, he went back to where he was before, and he took the beating like he did before. But initially, he tried something new, trying a little something different, trying to see if he could implement that. I knew he couldn't sustain it, and it wasn't really successful, so he just migrated back to where he was. But that just caused Haney to be in a situation where he could really just take advantage of him. And I thought the punch that showed advantage this time overall, was
Yeah.
that right hand.
So, okay, let's get into this. I got to ask the question to both of you. What do you think about, or do you think it's finally time to see Devin Haney in the ring against the likes of a Lomachenko? Talk to
Coach.
me.
Yeah, I love that fight. It's definitely time. Listen, Lomachenko is doing his is a throwback fighter. So what? So I love what he's doing, and I love how he's prepping himself for the moment. So a lot of these guys are is really not paying attention to what this man is doing. Since his loss, he has fought what 3 or 4 times, right? He is keeping himself busy. He is working on his techniques, and he is keeping himself in the public eye, and he's doing it the way that is supposed to be done. A lot of times these young fighters are upset because they're not getting the money that they feel they should be getting. But in my opinion, they're not putting in the work to keep themselves in the public eye. They're fighting once every year and a half, once every two, and they're keeping themselves relevant via through social media, but not actually doing the hard work. Lomachenko is actually doing the hard work. So it gets really tricky from a technical perspective. That's a really tough fight for Devin because from a southpaw position, you have to use the stick a different way. You have to know how to educate your jab in a
Good.
different
Good.
way, right? So I don't know if they've been working on that. I haven't seen enough of his southpaw, him fighting southpaws to make that distinction, right? But what happens when he's not able to use that stick? He can't measure the distance the way that he would do on an orthodox fighter. Now he does that perfectly on an orthodox fighter. It could get challenging on a southpaw.
Good point.
Not only that, a southpaw who also knows how to make the rhythm changes, attack the angles, manipulate the heights, right? That becomes very interesting fight. I definitely want to see that fight. It's well deserved, and that fight needs to happen next, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, no, no,
Yeah.
no. I can't listen. If you're tuning into the boxing breakdown, thank you for being with us. Please, if you are watching on YouTube, you joining the program, make your comments, put them in the link below. If they come up on the broadcast, we'll make sure that everybody is talking about what you're talking about. I want to know how many of you want to see this fight? Because for me, this is one of the biggest fights in boxing to be made in the next year. So I certainly would like to see that fight. There's a couple of other fights that I'd like to see for sure. I mean, you know, I want to see who our big guy, right? So here we go, my friends. We are going to kick it into gear. We are going to get into Deontay Wilder, right? And his most recent victory. Dwayne, you were in the arena for this fight,
Yes.
right?
Yes, you were.
Talk to me. Talk to me. Lay it out. Lay it out for me.
So this is what's exciting about Deontay Wilder. This guy has the best ring walk that I've ever seen in a very very long time. I love so he's very he's very conscious. Like in reference, what I mean conscious, he's very conscious with his African roots. So
Right.
when he comes out into the ring, he displays that. He has the drums beating. He has his um, 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 just that this magical music that makes you think like you're going into this Mandinko warrior fight thing that he does, right? Giving the fact that he's a tall guy, he dresses in these these wonderful costumes. He excites you when he walks out. He really does a great presence in his ring walk. I just love it. And then of course he just steps right over the top rope. That just makes it even looks more awesome, right? He doesn't go in between the ropes. He just steps right over the top rope, right? So you got to love the guy just off of his ring presence, you know. But yeah, but and um, from a personal perspective, I never met him, but he seems to be a guy who's very in tune in um, um, his spirituality, his family, his friends. He seemed to be grounded. Um, um, he seems to be really grounded.
yeah.
Having said that, when I watched him fight, when the bell rung, coach, the first thing that I seen was I could see what they're trying to do. His coaches are trying to do with him, and I salute them. Here's what's happening. They're trying to get him to be a little more rhythmic and to understand some distinctions rhythm wise, right? And trying to teach him how to pick up the rhythm and also how to create rhythms with doing his attack so he's not so robotic, right? So it gets that's a very difficult thing to do. I had heavyweights where I had to, same situations when it comes to training them.
Yes.
But you have to be so I see what they're trying to do. One of the things that I would see is that I don't like the fact he hasn't gotten it yet. So what do I mean by that? He's doing the rhythm changes. He's trying to get a little flow. He's moving around the ring, but he's moving around the ring and he hasn't learned how to fight off of that rhythm yet, right? He doesn't learn how to fight off of that movement. I, quite frankly, don't know will he ever get that, right? And it might be a bad idea to try to make him get that because when he does it, defensively, he has a lot of defensive liabilities. Now, because it's just not what he does, right? The deer doesn't try to be like the lion, right? The deer has its own special things that it does. The deer is special because it can hear far distance. It has a great smell, and because of that, the lion can't catch him because he uses his skill sets, right? So so same thing with Deontay Wilder. It's okay for you to have him move around the ring, but he shouldn't really be, in my opinion, bouncing around the ring, right? Because his what makes him different is his power, and in order to deliver that power to the highest of his ability, he has to know how to slide, step and slide, step and slide. Still do it from a dramatic perspective, but he needs to be able to always keep his feet underneath him, and he's not doing that when they have him doing those bounces. So why is that a problem? It's a problem when you fight a guy like what's the Mexican guy that beat
Andy
uh
Ruiz.
Andrew is, but a guy who's going to move and he's going to be giving up that distance freely. He's not going to be able to protect that territory. Just like this boy backed him up against the ropes, that was a very bad position for him to be in, and it's going to be a very difficult position for him to be in if and when a guy like Andy Ruiz who can actually run his hands and keep his punches in the box, right? That can get real ugly for him. What I know that is special about this guy, without a doubt,
Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
fact that this kid's spot power is incredible. He knocked this boy out cold, and that right hand was technically wrong
Ill
in a
thrown.
major way, right?
Right.
And he still knocked this boy out cold. That wasn't no fluke, my friends. I was there. Those eyes was rolling in the head. It wasn't staged. He knocked this boy out on his back foot, throwing the right hand technically wrong, and that boy was out.
Yes, there was no leverage, no torque. It was just it just came out as a defensive punch from my standpoint, and it just landed, and the inherent power just translated. It was something to see. I'm
Yeah.
sure you saw that.
And the interesting thing you bring up about the fact that he didn't throw the punch with any power, any torque, any leverage. He wasn't in the right position even to land the shot. His feet weren't set properly, but yet he throws it and the guy goes down. And I just want to take a moment. I just want to take a moment here though, to make sure that we are referring to the opponent properly. His name is Robert Helenius, and, hats off to him, even though he was KO'd. The young man came out, stepped up against a class act. Both of them showed tremendous respect in the lead ups to the fight. And, unfortunately, Robert Helenius didn't make it out of the first round. And not only did he not make it out of the first round, at the end of the fight, Deontay Wilder in the post press conference, the post-fight press conference, he was incredibly emotional when he was talking about the idea and the notion that people like, for example, Richard Colon, he actually, hats off Richard Colon, Viva Puerto Rico, but he did talk about Richard Colon and how he'd never get to, do certain things with his family, and he went on and on. He was so emotional, it brought him to tears.
It did.
And
it did.
I wonder if you guys saw that, and if you did, Harold, comment on that.
Well, I think he was just happy to be back in his element. He had been away for a while. He tends to listen to the social media and his friends and that type of thing. It really bothers him. So for him to come back in such a manner, he was just grateful that, all that talk and all that could be kind of, squelched for a little while, because people are going to, continue to criticize, the posture in which he threw the punch, this, that, and he only has a punch. But I was happy that he was able to get that off of. It was a cleansing type of thing for him. Yeah. And he realizes that those guys, he and the other gentlemen, they put their lives on the line all the time. And he wants the public to understand that that's what they do.
Well, yeah, and he was very poignant in that point, making the point about, those of us that spend time in the gym, we understand, you can lose your life in there. Coach and I, Dwayne and I talk about this almost every day, about the fact that this is not a game. You don't play boxing, and it's very, very dangerous. And, I just love the fact that he came out and he was, his main concern was for Robert Helenius' health and his future, and how he was going to be able to spend, in the next week, month, year, 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, what was that going to look like because of that knockout? And I think that's a really important thing to talk about. And for those in the, the casuals that are tuning into boxing and watching boxing, to understand, and also the promoters, to understand that these fighters are putting their lives on the line every single day in the gym and in the ring. And I just had a conversation with a friend of mine. We were talking about an ex-world champion who, had some severe CTE and issues related to taking too many shots into his older years prior to his death. And how difficult it was for her as the fiance of this gentleman, and to actually watch him going through that was so complicated, so difficult for her as a fiance. It's just something to really know that this is serious. You can lose your life in it, and these fighters, what they do is just incredible and should really be applauded and really respected for the level of risk that each one of us takes going into that ring. So that being said, my friends, where does Deontay Wilder go next? Dwayne, give me your your speculation on what happens next.
Yeah, well, I I just think that this was a great night for boxing. Deontay Wilder is really good for boxing. You know, he is, like I said, he is a presence. I like the way that he's growing into himself. It's kind of weird to watch someone um step into themselves publicly. So you can see his growth as a person and as a man publicly, and that's really powerful to witness that, and it's good for boxing. You know, I like I don't like, to your point, I like to see people conduct themselves in a manner that is honorable to the
Admirable.
sport, right?
True. True.
And when all this other stuff, that all this circus stuff, all this disrespectful stuff, they think that it makes them look, the people who do that thinks that it makes them look machoist, but really what it does, it makes you look foolish. So when I see people conduct themselves like a Sean Porter, like a Devin Haney, um, um, as Deontay Wilder's growing into himself, it's just good to see those kind of images um, being put forward into the sport, right? I just think it's better for boxing. You know, you can let your actions speak for you. You don't have to do all this buffoonery, right? It just doesn't appeal to me, right? So having said that, I think what he really wants is to get. I'm thinking what he really wants is to have, hoping that Usyk beats Fury and he gets the winner of and he gets Usyk for and he gets a chance to fight Usyk, right? That's what I think he's hoping for. Um, that could be a long shot because I don't see Usyk beating Tyson Fury.
Right.
And but this is boxing, you never know, right? That's why we fight. If that's not the case, he can go and do the Andy Ruiz fight. I think that's a good fight. Mexican fans would love to see that. I think that's a good money maker. And also, hey, listen, people are still interested in seeing Anthony Joshua. So I think he has so many options that it's just a matter of which way they want to go. But I think what he's hoping for is that Usyk beats Fury, and then he gets a chance to fight Usyk.
Really? I
Yeah.
think. Well, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
according to about 18 hours ago, it looks like Deontay Wilder versus Andy Ruiz was confirmed. I'm not sure because confirmed, not confirmed, confirmed, locked and loaded. We don't know. I mean, they say things are confirmed all the time, and then we find out that they've been canceled. But it is coming across the wire that the Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz fight is confirmed. So whether that's breaking news from the Boxing Breakdown or not, it is going to happen. And so let's talk about that.
Well, that's a dangerous fight, I would say, for Deontay, because Ruiz has quick hands, and as Coach said, he can run the box. So once he gets throwing those straight right hands, and he's quick with them, because I watched his entire career, he could easily be in a position where he's hitting Deontay pretty cleanly, several times. And of course, he's the mandate with the referees: don't stop it, don't stop it. But he could possibly get in a situation where he could really look bad if he doesn't catch him early. I just see how Joshua had the same problem. He was trying to get to him, but he just was getting hit quicker than he can really react to it, and he just got kind of overwhelmed with the quickness. And I just see that. I see these other fights are a little easier. I see him handling Usyk easily, and I don't see anybody else out there. But Ruiz is kind of somewhat dangerous to me, only because he throws straight punches and he has quick hands.
All right, Coach, give me your analysis on the Deontay Wilder versus Andy Ruiz fight.
Yeah, I agree with Harold. You know, he has once again, we're talking game plan here. Who's going to use their attributes, right? Who's going to have a game plan that's going to use their attributes? What Deontay Wilder's people has to be concerned about is if you take a look at some of his fights, he's not able to put the rounds in the bank, right? If he's not knocking these people out, if you take a look at the scorecards on a lot of his fights, he's there. They're right there with him. What makes the difference is that they don't finish. He knocks them out, right? So the question becomes, how do you get him to, you know, be able to get behind that jab, get to do some other things to 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 put some rounds in the bank as he's trying to deliver that big right hand. I think Andy Ruiz is a good is a is a is a is a is a situation where he should be able to do that, and he should be able to get that right hand and hit Andy with that right hand and get him out of there. But um, um, because Andy's footwork is really not that sophisticated. He got some decent upper body movement, but his footwork is not really that clever. He's kind of right there. So it'll be interesting to see. But the problem is, if he gets there, Deontay Wilder doesn't have the defense there to or the punch combinations that he needs to get this boy out of to get Ruiz off of him, and he can get himself in a bad situation because of he does have the ability to run his hands, and he has Andy Ruiz have every punch in the book in the book. He can throw them all at all angles, and is that's could be a situation. They may just have him tie him up and just walk him back to the middle and don't even let him play that game with Ruiz. Just lean on him, tie him up. Whenever he gets there, tie him up and walk him to the middle. You know, but
So,
but I that's again what we're talking about here is who's going to effectively come up with a game plan that's going to allow them to use their best attributes.
well, yeah,
It's
and
not yeah.
to your point, Coach. To your point, you talked earlier on about Deontay Wilder and him. They're trying to get him to move his feet, play around with some rhythms. I think that could help him. It certainly could serve him in a fight against Andy Ruiz if they continue to work on that, and he's able to really deal with the adjustments rhythmically that Andy Ruiz is going to pose. I think you're right. Distance is a key for Deontay Wilder in order for him to be able to neutralize Andy Ruiz. If he keeps him at the right distance, he has a very, very good chance of landing the right hand and perhaps the hook. Deontay Wilder has an amazing hook as well. But yeah, the right hand at the right distance with the right rhythm could work out for him. But if they go into this fight and don't focus on that rhythm and distance, I think, like you said, this could be a very, very bad look for Deontay Wilder. Come fight night.
Agreed. Ruiz just happens to have a decent chin on top of that. Now, most people go away when Deontay hits them. I understand that. But he has an opportunity to kind of stay away from that with his offense. He may not get lined up and targeted because he'll be constantly, throwing the punches and moving on angles and that type of thing. So I think it would be a good fight, but I stand that it's dangerous for Deontay.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah, it's
And then
dangerous.
and coach and coach, another point is that we talk about this now. Another point is because we have to take into the mental aspect of a Deontay Wilder. Now, we always talk about the post traumatic syndrome of a fighter, right? So the question becomes when those moments happen, right? Those moments happen. If he's not in a place where he can control the whole fight, when those moments happen, when he's out of control, will he be thinking about, oh my God, here we go again? Because those losses to Tyson Fury were bad losses, right? They were um, took a lot of physical um, um,
A physical
a
toll.
full physical toll on him. So that's very that can cause syndromes that allows you not to be able to get back to what you need to do to get back to doing your duty when it gets rough, and he can lose himself. And if he loses his discipline and loses the game plan, that can happen in that fight when he has those rough moments, because psychologically he can revert back to the trauma that he had when he was fighting Tyson. So, you know, it's different once you quit. It's different when you come in and you really believe that you're invincible, and
Yeah.
and the first time you under that trauma, you're okay. But once you realize that you do have you're human, right? That can play on your psyche as well. So his psyche is also in question when it comes to those moments. Not questioning his heart, but anyone who goes through that kind of trauma,
Yeah.
right, is going to have to deal with some mental things as well.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
that's I agree with that totally because your brain goes into the fight and it's never been shocked like that. And when it feels that same type of pressure previously, it says, "Oh, I remember what I did with this. I went down." And you'll go down because your brain says, "Well, this is the reaction when I feel this kind of pressure, kind of type of thing going on." So he took a brutal knockout that last fight, and um, Coach, I believe that when he does feel that kind of pressure again, it's really going to be something for him to kind of over overcome that because his body knows, well, I'm just going to go out on my shield, and he'll just resort to that live or die situation, and he won't be clear headed. So that worries me with Ruiz because of the frequency of the punches. Everyone else, I think he'll be able to kind of keep them off of him. It may be a boring fight, but initially, eventually he'll drop that right hand and get them on the offensive,
yeah, you
on the
guys.
defensive rather.
So check this out. That's super awesome, Harold. I want to ask you a question because we gotta switch gears, man. We
Okay,
gotta
okay,
talk
okay.
about Harold. You guys. We have to talk about the only boxer in the history of female or male boxing, the only one to hold all four major world titles in boxing. That means the WBA, the WBC, the IBF, and the WBO simultaneously in two separate weight classes.
Three, three.
Oh,
She did in
three, man.
three.
Three. Thank you for the correction. We are talking about none other than Clarissa Shields. We got to talk about her. We got to have a conversation about this fight that she just had. Unanimous decision victory over Savannah Marshall. Big fight. Huge pay-per-view numbers. Tell me what you got, Harold.
Oh well, Shay. I was worried about her on the ropes. I was like, get off the ropes, get off the ropes, get off the rope. But she turned, she kept stepping around, stepping around. She didn't step around all the way, but she stepped around to the left or the right and she attacked. So I was so glad to see that. From a judge standpoint, which is the only standpoint I have, I was like, you are telling the judges that you are in a situation where you are not winning the round, you're being compromised and you're being scored on. But she kept stepping around, stepping around. And I was glad to see that discipline. She stayed in there. She kind of got that girl in the kind of a no man's land. Her back was on the ropes sometimes. If she was close to the ropes, but she was able to counter and she stepped out of that. Coach, what do you see, Coach Dwayne?
It's fun. It was such a busy, phenomenal weekend for boxing. I mean, this was just a wonderful period for boxing. I didn't have the opportunity to see that fight. I kind of seen the a lot of the post a lot of the pre-post interviews, and then also the interview afterwards. But so I didn't actually see the fight. I but I will. I have to pull that fight up. That's one of the fights that's on my hit list to see. But I'm so impressed with what she does. I'm really impressed with her work ethic. I'm really impressed with her team. I'm really impressed with her attitude about the sport. And I'm gonna tell you, I was a big Layla Ali fan. I just loved Layla. Um, and I have to admit that this Caressa Seals is the female goat. Like, she is something phenomenon. And and um I think she's going to be around as long as she wants to be around. And I would just love to see what's next. But from what I understand, it was a um um Savannah Marshall, the only that she fought, was a very capable opponent.
Yes.
Yeah, a very capable opponent. And I wouldn't be the fans may even want to see this again.
Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it was an amazing fight. I think they blew out the box office in terms of the pay-per-view numbers for this
What
fight.
were they?
I don't have the numbers. I'm going to pull them up while we chat this up, but it might possibly be one of the best female numbers for the best, in the history of female boxing. So,
And the 2 minute rounds kept the drama up. I mean, actually, I'm a proponent for 3 minute rounds. I believe in more knockouts for the women, this type of thing. The world wants to see knockouts, this, that, and the other. But those 2 minute rounds, when they were over, you were like, oh, you got to get chance to get a breath. So at that skill level, 2 minute rounds are very exciting. They are. They don't. It's not mundane. It's not like boring, and it's over right when they're really getting into it. I mean, that the round is concluded and the next one begins. So just that 2 round format. I mean, that 2 minute format. Even helped the entire situation.
yeah. So I'm trying to pull up the numbers, but I did see in a couple of different places that the numbers were, record breaking. So let's just start out with the idea that the numbers are record breaking, and tell me what you think, Dwayne, about female boxing in general.
I trained my first female fighter probably about 20 years ago, right? And at that time, I didn't I I wasn't I wasn't too keen on it, right?
Yeah,
Because I w- at, you know I had to grow into it, right? At this particular point, I am convinced that they are phenomenal. And even the young lady that I trained, when a fighter that I was training brought her to me, was a fighter by the name of Santos Lopez, brought her to me. It was amazing, the the attention to detail, the natural. She this young lady was talented, and just the commitment and the discipline. But here's the other thing: the fierce the fierce intensity of competition. Like, they are really out here. I mean, they're the biggest competitors, man. I am a fan of women boxing. I just like to see it continue to grow. I would like to see they get their due when it comes to, the financial rewards of this sport. But I am 110% all for it. They earned their seat at the table. They definitely earned their seat at the table.
Harold, tell
Yes.
me who is your favorite female fighter of all time?
Well, of course, Carissa has all the skills and the dog and the step in and step out. But of all time, I have to say Ann Wolf. Now, she didn't get all the shine. She didn't get opportunity to really fight Layla Ali, as Coach Dwayne knows. That was always the step aside fight, the one that should have been made, like Leonard should have fought Pryor and this, that, and the other. I watched some of her fights, and she had the skill set of a male in that the way she moved, the way she stepped, her offense, her defense, her footwork. She was my favorite fighter. I mean, she had no, if you want to say, female type of posture when she fought, and I appreciate that. And women are naturally pretty vicious. I mean, against in that kind of situation, it's just their nature. And she had it all the way. So that is my favorite fighter. My next fighter, just to be quickly, is Baumgardner. Now, yes, she's attractive and she got the body and the little booty was hanging out. But the main thing is she absolutely had the great her counterpunching was good. And I've watched about 8 of her fights. So I mean, she's only had 8 fights.
Who are we talking about? You talking about
Baumgardner?
No. Don't talk about her yet. That's coming up. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, Baumgardner's coming up next. Harold. Always, I don't know.
I jumped from Wolf to Baumgardner.
To me, man, and he jumps over into. Listen, if you're gonna jump anywhere, it's gonna be into Alycia Baumgardner's arms for sure. There's no doubt about that, brother. But here's the thing. Let's back this up. I told you I was going to look this up, Harold. Clarissa Shields and her victory over Savannah Marshall to become undisputed middleweight world champion at the O2 on October 15th was the most watched women's sporting event ever on Sky Sports. Over 2 million viewers tuned into the bout, which was Shields' win via unanimous decision. The scores were 96-94, 97-93, and 97-93. So you've got this incredible bankability. Who would have thought that the Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall fight would have done 2 million views? And get this, they're talking about Clarissa Shields, coach. They're talking about her fighting, guess who? Katie Taylor.
So let's be clear. There's a couple, being that we're talking about fighters, female fighters, we have to give a salute to Christine Martin, who was really one of the pioneers and faces of boxing at that time years ago when she first came up. But I'll tell you, and then there's another one. You guys can help me with this now. There was a young lady who played in $1 Million Baby. She was the young lady who fought the $1 Million Baby. I forget her name, man. I forget that young lady's name.
She's fighting now.
No, well, is she still fighting?
Yes, she had her first actual boxing match. What was it last? Because she's an MMA fighter. Am I correct? Is that who we're talking about?
No. But you know what? I have to pull that lady up. Next time it escapes me. But she was a boxer.
Was it Cyborg?
Chris
Cyborg?
Not Cyborg. Not Cyborg.
Okay, I'm confused.
Not Cyborg. But anyway, she was a good fighter. But I'm gonna tell you who my all-time favorite fighter is right now, and Coach Mark already know this. I am a Katie Taylor fan. I love Katie Taylor. Now, I've been to 2 of her fights and seen her up close and personal. I've ate and sat down with her team and I love her. That young lady can fight, my friend. Okay? I'm telling you. And I'm telling you, hey, she's a problem. She's a problem.
Listen, man, you guys are heating up the women's boxing here. I mean, really, at the end of the day, there's a lot of talent out there and a lot of matches that can be made. Okay, put Katie Taylor out there, Amanda Serrano out there. I don't know if Clarissa Shields can get to the weight, but if Clarissa Shields can get to a catch weight for that, for her to fight either one of those 2 people.
Oh my God,
dude! I mean, you got Alycia Baumgardner. She can step up in weight for sure. I've seen her. she definitely can make weight and go up. Right now she's undisputed, which is huge, man, huge. But we're going to get into that. And actually, why don't we? Because look at Harold. Harold is ready right now to get into Alycia Baumgardner's win. Split. It was actually a split decision win over. It's actually turning into a super campaign and controversial campaign with Baumgardner's win over Mikaela Meyer because of the nature of the scoring. Now they're talking about. I know that Mikaela Meyer's like, Alycia Baumgardner should give me another fight. Alycia Baumgardner's come out and said on a couple of interviews, a couple occasions, I am not going to give Mikaela Meyer the rematch. And Mikaela Meyer saying, look, you didn't win the fight. I won the fight. And if you're not scared, you need to make a rematch. I love it. I just love it. There's so much talent right now, crossing weight divisions, that there's a lot of things that can happen. Baumgardner, Harold, go.
Well, first of all, she must go get the other belt. So when she does come back to Marshall, it'll be more marketable. It'll be more on the line, and it'll be a better opportunity for the opponent. And Alycia will be in a situation where she can call the shot. She can definitely be the A side. I see her beating the other champion, who, matter of fact, fought today. Was it in Korea, and she won. So they're on a collision course there. I just like Baumgardner's. She has the power, and she's a great counterpuncher. Now, I scored that fight, and she won the last round because she hit her with 3 right hands in succession before the end of the round. If you notice that, if you saw that, that's what swayed her, because I was looking at it from a judge standpoint, and she won that last round because of those 3 clean, sweeping overhand rights in the last round. And that's what I saw. It gave the fight to her.
Well, I will say this, it's quite interesting, in women's boxing, because, we're talking about great fighters. These are great female fighters. And certainly the Alycia Baumgardner fight against Mikaela Meyer was an exceptional fight. They've got a huge build-up here for another fight to occur. Big money can be made here. Lots of, opponents for Baumgardner if she's able to retain the titles, or Mikaela Meyer. But, Alycia Baumgardner's only got 13 fights. She's 13-1 with 7 KOs. So you're not talking about a guy who's like, Canelo, who's, got 50 fights. You're talking about a female fighter who's got 13. It's just beautiful that you could have 13, 14 fights, 7 of them coming by way of KO, 1 loss, and win the unification, be a unified champion. That's incredible. I mean, Coach D, talk to me.
Listen, I am excited for them. I salute them. I think it's well deserved. They have put the work in, and I'm gonna tell you the truth. They're just a credit to the sport. They, conduct themselves in a very professional manner, and I just love the addition, and the addition to the sport, and I would love to see them get all the accolades that they deserve. And I'm glad to see that these numbers are putting them in a position where financially they're getting the rewards for that. I think it's well deserved. It's been a long time coming. Like I said, I remember 20 years ago, this phenomenon happening, and to see it grow to this magnitude for these women is just fantastic to me. And it hasn't been easy. They're stepping on the shoulders of a lot of people, and I salute them, and I think they're carrying that torch well.
Yeah, man. No, I agree. I totally agree with you. Let's just close out the program here tonight. Let's talk a little bit about Caleb Plant versus Anthony Direll. Did either one of you get a chance to see that? I know, Dwayne, before you answer, I know that you and I talked about what we thought the results would be for this fight, for the Caleb Plant Anthony Direll fight. Coach D, you remember us talking about that?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And so what did you think of the fight and the result?
Well, I was there. I was there. I had a chance to. That's one of the fights that I wanted to see. We talk about personalities of fighters, and Anthony Direll has the personality in reference to that you can stay in front of him. Like so, when I mean stay in front of him, he's always fighting behind you. So I knew that Caleb Plant would have the ability to put some rounds in the bank just off of that alone. That he would be able to touch the dead weight, do certain things, touch him up with the jab, and and stay in front of him because Anthony Durrell allows you to do that. I thought that he would have more moments because there is moments where he gets really aggressive, and then doing those moments, he can probably put some rounds in the bank. I was expecting him to have more moments, but I was expecting Caleb Plant just to win on points. What I wasn't expecting was a knockout, right? And that yeah, that was really surprising, and it turned out to be a really good win for Kalen Plant. His team should be saluted because up to that point, he was winning. He was outboxing him just like we thought he would. Um, the fans was getting a little restless, like there was some booing, you know. But Kalen Plant did what he was supposed to do. He stayed within the game plan, and it was a smart fight, and he ended it. Um, he ended in fine fashion. But up until that point, he was touching him up and staying in front of him the whole time.
Harold, what do you got?
Well, between the animosity that was put together between the two, the bravado that I saw from the dog kind of put him in a position. I thought he got a little overconfident in the situation, but I give the trainer, Plant's new trainer, a lot of credit for helping him sit down those punches and to add, some torque because he's thrown those punches before. I watched the Canelo fight; he was winning the Canelo fight. He wasn't hurting him, but he was winning technically until he got stopped. This time he was doing the same thing, but he was able to add some power because he lands shots on everybody, whether they're telling or not. He does do that, and this time it was telling, and it was nice. Now, as far as the theatrics after it was over, the shoveling the dirt and all that kind of stuff, that was kind of cool to see. Some people think negative of it. Caleb Plant said he was just bearing the beef, that between the two. He wasn't burying him as in
Right.
casket did. He was just burying the beef. So, it's a kind of play on words. But the whole thing that he put together, now he's the bad guy, and bad guys make money. So I'm happy for the stance he took. I'm happy that he was able to deliver some power. And now, it's all in his court. I mean, it's going forward with him. So it's good. It's good for him. It's good for him. I'm happy for that situation. But it was a good technical fight for the old heads who like, that kind of boxing, step around, this, that, and the other, bull the tiny closet type thing. And he just delivered the power that was shocking. And I thought his knockout was more spectacular than Deontay's.
Wow.
Yes,
Wow.
yeah. I totally agree. I totally agree with that. He really, and to Coach's point, to I mean to Hal's point, you know, at that moment where he got knocked out, Coach Mark, he actually was heavy on his front foot,
Yeah.
and he was actually trying to throw another left hook, but it was crazy. Now I don't know if they practiced this, but the timing, there was a little delay before he shot that left hook, and that little delay kind of messed up Anthony's Durrell timing because you can see him drop his right hand when he shot that left hook. And so as Caleb Plant reached in and you know how hard do you know how hard it is to hit somebody in that kind of position with that kind of power? it's very difficult to someone to allow them to be in that kind of position where they get hit like that. But he was really heavy on his front foot, and I think that little small delay before Kalen Plant threw his left hook kind of made Anthony Direll drop his right hand a little bit as he was throwing his hook, and it was lights out, man. That knockout was definitely more dramatic than Deontay Wilder's.
No, I can't agree with you guys more. I think, listen, speaking of lights out, man, listen, we just surrounded right around 1 hour. If you are driving and listening to the Boxing Breakdown, thank you for having us with you wherever you're listening to the Boxing Breakdown. And don't forget to hit, yeah, man, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe down below. Come on, you guys. Point down below right there. Boom, boom, boom. Hit the like, subscribe. Oh, that's that way. There we go. All right. Cool, man. Yeah. Thank you for being with us. And if you are tuning in on YouTube, leave your comments. You know, this is going to be up there for a long time, and you can continue to comment on this and these fighters. And Harold, as always, thank you so much for being with us, being on the Boxing Breakdown, anchoring it, holding it down, and being my partner in crime. And Coach D, you already know, bro, we're in the gym all the time. Thank you so much for being my partner in crime there and being on the Boxing Breakdown tonight. It was a pleasure to have you on. And without further ado, peace and love. And we will see you guys on the next episode of the Boxing Breakdown.
Peace.
All right, guys. How good seeing you.
Yes. Peace
Fight
out,
fans,
man.
join host Mark Roxy and special guests as they break down all aspects of the boxing world, including news, business, management, training, promotions, fan reactions, upcoming events, matchups, future boxing stars, title fights, state of the boxing world, and all the stuff you don't see when you watch boxing.
That's you, Harold.
This podcast is released each week on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Live streamed on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook Live. It's the Boxing Breakdown, hosted by Mark Roxy.